Hello, action sports community. This is Alpine Comics doing a video. I thought I'd do a final update on my 1962 league since it had 30 views. These are the final standings. The New York Giants finished 12-2, and the Green Bay Packers finished 12-2, with Detroit also 12-2, and 9-5 for Cleveland. So it's a pretty competitive league, and I had fun and learned a lot. This is the first one I've done. And moving to the playoffs, I'll get this up here now. Wrong thing. Playoff bracket. And I had a playoff bracket. I should have just gone New York and in Green Bay. But what I did is I had Cleveland play New York. So the second place team in the East played the first place team in the West. And then I had Detroit and where the hell are they? Detroit and New York. And Detroit, of course, beat New York, and Green Bay was able to take care of Cleveland. Now, I didn't know this time, and then when I did the matchup, Green Bay should have been at home, but I didn't select reseed between rounds. So Green Bay had to go to Detroit Tiger Stadium, a house of horrors, and they lost to the Lions 14-10. It was a pretty defensive game, and there wasn't much offense. And I didn't know that at the time, but I watched Al, Red Sox fan, do his 1980s tournament, and I went on and I did a Champions League, which I'll show you. But I learned that in Action PC football, if you don't have home field advantage in the playoffs, you're screwed, because it's harder than hell to win on the road in Action PC football. I mean, if you're 4-1 and you go for it, and you're in the home stadium and they stop you, and they go down and score on that possession, you're pretty much screwed. It's really tough. And home field advantage for the playoffs in Action PC football means a hell of a lot. And I played offense and defense. So you got to have your defensive strategy down, because they get momentum, they'll tear your defenses apart. So it was interesting. The Packers couldn't win the 62 championship. The Lions in Detroit, they just have their number. I'll tell you, they are tougher than hell in Detroit. So my next league I did, and I worked on this. I think I sent a message to Al, Red Sox fan. And this was our next band. This is a Champions League. What I did with this league is I took 32 teams. It's a 14-game schedule. And it's teams from, I wanted to do it before the rule changes in 1978. So this basically went from 1958 to 1977. And you had to either win the championship or the Super Bowl, be in the playoffs. If you didn't make the playoffs, or you didn't win the championship game like in the early 60s, you weren't considered. So you had to be a successful team. And this was a tough league. I didn't want to do that. Snapshot. So as you can see, there's only 5 rushers that had 1,000 yards. And I learned a lot in this league. And one of the biggest surprises, well, there were a couple. One is the Green Bay Packers of 1966 in the NFC Central. I sort of messed this up. They finished in the cellar. And that surprised me. And I went to their computer coach, and they had a game plan of, well, that's not it. They had a game plan about 65% run. So the following season, I changed them. I put the ball in Bart Starr's hand. I went down to 44% run on first down, and let me tell you, they took off. But on to the rest of the league. It was fun. The NFC South here was a lot of fun. Lots of offense, and I learned quickly one of the teams that you have to respect is the 1958 Colts, because they, I've done this a couple other times, and let me tell you, they are hell on wheels. And what I did with this league is I went through every team, put everybody in their correct position, like left end is Gino Marchetti, left defensive tackle is Donovan, right tackle is Limskin, Joyce, because they had Ray Krause starting instead of Donovan, and they had Gino Marchetti, Big Daddy Limpscomb as the left defensive tackle. So you have two tens right next to each other. But I went and I put them in the right position, gave them the correct height and weight, and this defense became an iron wall. Holy shit. Hell of a pass rush, great team. They won their division, and the 62 Packers won their division. One of the teams that surprised me, I didn't think they would do that good, but the 1968 Jets have continued to impress me. They're not a great team. They can be beaten by any team, or they can beat any team. Very exciting team. There you go, the 1972 Redskins. They're a hell of a lot tougher than the 72 Dolphins. How did the 72 Dolphins? Well, they were 6-8 and didn't win their division. They lost to the 64 Bills. And let me tell you, I tried to do a lot of work on these Dolphins all through. It is harder than hell to play this. So I'm getting up in time. Basically, what I learned is with these teams, you just don't line up and run the ball 40. There are some great. The Pittsburgh defense, one of the best defenses against the run, is these 77 Cowboys. I played 4 seasons, 4 leagues, so I'm on the 4th one. And the Dallas Cowboys of 1977 has consistently held their opponents to about 50 to 70 yards rushing. They are a fantastic run defense and a hell of a pass rush. A lot of good teams here. If you want to learn to play defense, and I'm still learning, pick a good team, because they will do what you play. So, in other words, they will perform the tasks that they're given. And that way you can realize what is a good combination defense and what is bad. If you play a bad team, you may have the right combination, but they can't do it. So we're going to go to the playoffs. I'll do this real quick. Playoff bracket. All right, so the wild card games were the Houston 61 Oilers against the 68 Jets. The Jets outlasted them. Houston's got a fantastic offense. That Baltimore team is the 68 Baltimore Colts against the 72 Redskins. And yes, they got slaughtered. One championship game, the New York Jets of 68 had to play those 58 Colts, and it didn't work for them. And the 62 Packers beat the 68 Colts. Back in the bottom, the Southern Division, we had Kansas City outlast Buffalo 31-21. And yes, those Denver Broncos beat the 69 Minnesota Vikings in a defensive slobber knocker. This is the only year that Denver's been able to make the playoffs. Then we have the 77 Cowboys took care of the Chiefs, and Denver, the 67 Raiders blew out the 77 Denver Broncos. That's the 67 Raiders. And the championship game, well, Dallas took care of Oakland. And yes, the 58 Colts beat the 62 Packers. Ugh, that was a tough game. And in the championship game, well, 21-14, the 58 Colts. There you go again. So, very interesting, tough league. Learned a lot, and maybe I'll show Champions League 2 if anybody's interested. Thanks. Bye. Have a good day. Hope somebody views it. Leave comments.